On a winter day, the fine snowflakes falling on the famous streets of New York softened the city's bustling atmosphere. Lady Gaga, wanting to take a break from the spotlight, decided to spend a day away from the stage. After years of performing concerts around the world and having millions of fans, the global superstar longed for a simple day in the streets. Holding a coffee in her hand, a thin hat on her head, and wrapping her long black coat around her to shield herself from the cold winter wind, she walked through the city. While stars often shine on the world's grandest stages, they sometimes feel the need to walk the streets as an ordinary person. As she tried to escape the noise of New York, she entered an area near Brooklyn. Some neighborhoods in the city, far from her glamorous life, felt like another world. As she quickly passed through the streets, many people living there were struggling. Many had lost their jobs, faced housing issues, and were fighting to survive. While she saw the glowing neon lights, she was also confronted with the harsh reality of poverty and struggle. At a street corner, a child playing an old piano caught her attention. The child, shivering from the cold, was trying to play with his hands. Dust had gathered on the piano, placed on top of an old newspaper. Under the streetlights, the child's fingers moved passionately across the keys, becoming one with the music. However, the faint sound of the piano, like a melody that disturbed the tranquility of the surroundings, was also a symbol of the child's deep passion. Lady Gaga slowed her steps, captivated by the magic of the melody the child was playing. The music reminded her of the feelings she had experienced when she first became known to the world through her own music. But this child, far from the luxuries of the world, was struggling to survive on the streets. The lonely eyes of the child, mixed with the cold wind and the sound of the piano, deeply moved Gaga. Just like in her own story, she thought that this child too needed help to fulfill his dream one day. Gaga took a step toward the child and gently called out, "Hello, little friend. What's your name?" The child looked up, surprised, and stared at her. First, uncertainty appeared in his eyes, followed by astonishment. He recognized Lady Gaga immediately, but his confidence had been shaken by his circumstances. "My name's James," the child said, his voice trembling. "So, what are you playing, James?" Gaga didn't hesitate to ask. "I'm playing the dream of a concert, but," the child said, his eyes filled with deep sorrow, "but I don't have a piano. I'll never have one." James's words deeply touched Gaga's heart. The child was fighting to make his dream come true, but he had no resources to do so. Gaga noticed the disappointment in his eyes, but also saw his resilience. Music had the power to pull them away from the dark sides of the world, but James needed support to reach it. Lady Gaga remained silent for a moment, watching James's hands touch the piano. Her past flashed before her eyes. She too had grown up with struggles and had found herself through music. Before achieving success as an artist, she had been lost in the streets, swallowed by crowds. But now she had the power to turn a child's dream into reality. "James," Lady Gaga said, "I know you can make your dream come true. You can do it. But to make it happen, you need a chance." James looked at Lady Gaga in astonishment. How could this famous person help him? He was just a street kid, with no resources to chase his dreams. "Really?" James asked. "But I don't have a piano. Where can I go? Which school would accept me?" Gaga sent him a warm smile. "We'll find a way. But first, I'm going to take you somewhere," she said. Lady Gaga took James by the hand and led him to a nearby bus stop. A few minutes later, a luxury SUV pulled up to pick them up. Gaga immediately walked up to the driver. "James, we're going to take you somewhere. Everything will fall into place so you can make your dream come true," she said. The SUV headed toward one of New York's most prestigious music schools. On the way, there was a silent understanding between Gaga and James. As Gaga listened to James's story, she gave him hope. The child began to believe that anything was possible in order to make his lifelong dreams of music come true. The SUV stopped a few minutes later in front of one of New York's prestigious music schools. This was the place where world-renowned artists and musicians trained, the place where dreams turned into reality. For James, however, this was a beacon of hope. The journey that had started as a street kid's struggle was about to turn into a new beginning at an art school. Lady Gaga looked at him reassuringly and said, "There's an opportunity waiting for you here. You won't just dream anymore. You'll make it happen." James was still in shock. How could such a big school open its doors to someone like him? But Lady Gaga's confident presence beside him gave him courage. As Gaga saw the desire in his eyes to turn his dream into reality, she knew she would do everything she could to help him. When they stepped through the school's doors, the administrators, recognizing Lady Gaga's fame, immediately took action. Within minutes, the school principal and music instructors were ready to hold a special interview for James. After meeting Lady Gaga, the principal said, "We trust your word. We can't wait to see this child's talent." Gaga simply smiled and replied, "He has great potential." James felt both excitement and tension. For the first time in his life, he was facing a real opportunity. He was no longer just a child playing on the streets. He was about to receive an education at a school, learning from the world's best music teachers. Gaga, placing her hand on his shoulder, said, "This is just the beginning, James. You deserve this." After his first interview and first lesson, James was accepted into the school. The music department offered him a full scholarship, covering all his tuition expenses. As James walked through the school's wide corridors, happiness filled his eyes, and the fear and uncertainty inside him vanished. He immediately headed to a piano room, and, with his fingers dancing across the keys, he savored the joy of finally owning a real piano. Gaga still looked at him with great confidence. Having distanced himself from the outside world, James was now on his own path. But Gaga was determined to continue supporting him, not only in music, but in life, to ensure his success. Gaga began visiting James regularly at school. She made time to celebrate each of his new achievements and was always by his side. During this process, Gaga noticed that James was not only growing through music, but also through the strength and determination within him. Every day, James was becoming a better musician. The sound of that old street piano now seemed like a prelude to a melody that would fill concert halls. A year later, James had become one of the best students at the school. He wasn't only excelling in his classes, but also achieving great success at the school's concerts. Lady Gaga closely watched every step and saw how close James was to realizing his dream. But this was just the beginning. Gaga suggested working on new projects together to further elevate James's potential. One day, Lady Gaga invited James to a gala dinner. This gala was attended by famous artists and leading figures from the business world from around the globe. It was a very special night, and Gaga planned to introduce James here, marking his first major step in his life. "Tonight is your night, James," Gaga said at the entrance of the gala hall. "You'll remember this night as the moment the whole world heard your name." James felt a bit nervous before the gala, but Gaga gave him encouragement. "Just be yourself. With your voice, you can change the world." Before the gala began, Gaga and James took the stage together. Introducing James with the microphone, Gaga said, "We're here today because this young man is going to light up the world with his music. I'm so proud of him." The people in the audience applauded and cheered for James. He was no longer just a street kid. He had become the shining student of a great artist. As James stepped onto the stage, he tried to leave his excitement behind. When he sat at the piano, the sounds were initially a little shaky, but as Gaga had said, he just needed to be himself. Slowly, he placed his fingers on the keys, and the music began to flow. At that moment, on stage, there was no longer just a child, but an artist. The concert hall was enchanted with every note. Ames's performance set the tone for the entire night. In that moment, it wasn't just the love of music from a child, but also the power of the inspiration and support Lady Gaga had given him. While everyone couldn't take their eyes off him, Lady Gaga stood proudly by his side, watching from the stage. At the end of the concert, the audience stood and applauded. With that applause, James had solidified his path to becoming a true artist. Throughout the night, as James and Gaga shared those moments together, a major transformation had taken place in James's life. A child who had once dreamed hopelessly in the streets was now taking a step into the art world. Lady Gaga had not only given him a chance, but had also become his greatest supporter. James turned to Lady Gaga and asked, "Do you really believe in me?" Gaga, with love shining in her eyes, replied, "I've always believed in you, James, and I will continue to believe in you." And so, a child's dream became reality with the support of a great artist. Life sometimes can change with just one opportunity, and Lady Gaga became the greatest source of inspiration in helping James realize his dream. Now, James's future was a bright journey filled with music. Thank you for listening to my story. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you in new stories and have a great day.